Welcome to our devotionals for Black Rock Baptist Church and also Morristown Baptist Church. We are looking at the topic of love this week, and for today and our next time together, we're going to be looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the very familiar love chapter. Have you ever wondered what matters to God? The Bible tells us in Galatians chapter 5, verse 6, if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, all that matters is your faith that makes you love others. God says what matters in life is not your accomplishments or your achievements or your fame or your wealth. The only thing that matters is having a faith that causes you to love other people. If you miss out on that, you've missed the most important thing in life. We're going to look at this famous chapter in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13. When speakers want to get your attention, they want you to remember something. They use repetition. They say something over and over again. In the first few verses of this passage in 1 Corinthians 13, Paul says the same thing 5 different ways. The most important thing in life is love, he says. We're going to look at 4 of those things that he says today, and then on Friday, when we meet again, we'll look at the 5th one. But these are, you say something over and over again, and in these first few verses of the passage, Paul is saying the same thing 5 different ways. First of all, he says this: if you don't live a life of love, then nothing you say matters. Listen, if I could speak all the languages of the earth and of angels, but I don't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If you don't live a life of love, nothing you say matters. We're really impressed by speakers and guest speakers. We love their eloquence and their charisma. But God says, I don't care how good a communicator you are. If you are, if you're living a life of love, if you're not living that life of love, then nothing you say matters. Words without love, he says, is just a lot of noise. Secondly, he says, if you don't live a life of love, nothing you know matters. Listen to verse 2 of chapter 13. I may have the gift of prophecy, he says. I may understand all the secret things of God and have all knowledge. But even with all these things, if I don't have love, I am nothing. We live in a world where knowledge is just exploding. We're smarter today than we've ever been. But we still have the same problems: crime, abuse, prejudice, violence. Why? It's because the world doesn't need more knowledge, it needs more love. You might be a genius, but God says if you don't have love in your life, everything you know is worthless. Thirdly, Paul says if you don't live a life of love, nothing you believe will matter. Listen to this. Even if I had the gift of faith so that I could speak to a mountain and make it move, I would still be worth nothing, nothing at all without love. There's a myth that being a follower of Jesus Christ is just a matter of believing certain truths. Nothing can be further from the truth. Following Jesus is about living a life of love. It takes more than belief to please God. If you don't live a life of love, nothing you say will matter, nothing you know will matter, nothing you believe will matter. And then, fourthly, he says, if you don't live a life of love, nothing you give will matter. The next verse says, if I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I don't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love isn't always the motivation for giving. Some people give to get something back, or they give out of guilt, or they give for control or prestige. You can give for a lot of wrong reasons. But the Bible says if you're not doing it out of love, none of your giving counts. The Bible is very clear about what happens when you don't live a life of love. Friday, we're going to look again at the final reason we need to focus on a faith that makes us have a love for others. Join us again on Friday. Until then, God bless. Let's continue to exchange prayers daily.